It's time for the finals. It's the two most successful sides in the history of the Asia Cup. India 7 titles, Sri Lanka 6 titles. Both teams now have their eyes on the prize. Cricbuzz Live is gifted as well. Two gentlemen, one a wordsmith, a connoisseur of cricket broadcasts, the other a man with fine tastes and someone who knows how to win Asia Cup finals. Dinesh, Karthik, how are you doing this morning?
Very, very good. It's been good to go back to Chennai for a day. Just come back. Feels like I've
Why don't we
refreshed.
take you back to Dambula from 13 years ago?
It's a good place to go for me. Happy memories. I was just telling Harsha that during that time between 2008 to 13-14, I used to literally live next to an aeroplane. I used to wait for a call. Whenever somebody used to get injured, I used to get that call. I used to hop onto that plane. Wherever it is, I used to come. And
Now the plane's in your garden?
Now the plane, I wish it was, Harsha, I wish it was. Now, but last time I was in Kuwait with my parents and I got the call that, the Asia Cup. I don't remember who was injured. It was between Gautam and Virubai.
No, you opened with Gautam.
So it must be Virubai then. I think he got injured. So I came. This is after that fiery match that Harbhajan had helped us win against Pakistan. Very full.
Sure.
That was the same series. So I'd come and played a couple of games and the finals was great. We ended up winning it. Lovely memories. And it is interesting to note that that is the only time India has beaten Sri Lanka for a long time in a final in Sri Lanka. So we played a few matches there. So that was very interesting.
Harsha has memories of Dambula.
What they should have done was, as soon as Akshar Patel got injured, they should have asked, how far are you from the plane?
I think he was stuck in traffic in Mahalakshmi. So
That's why.
maybe that's why.
But,
Ganpati Bappa Moria.
correct, at the end of it all, a tournament that serves many purposes. One of the many purposes intended to serve is to get India and Pakistan to play 3 times.
Correct.
And once again, you don't have an India-Pakistan final.
It's been 39 years. They haven't managed to do that. So this India-Pakistan tri-series hasn't worked. Or has it? It's the final now. Safe to say, DK...
Are you sure you're drinking coffee?
It is.
Okay.
Dekha do bhai. Coffee hai yaar. Main acha bachcha hu. Under 18, na? Not allowed. Yeah, it's the finals. Safe to say, the two most deserving teams have made it through. I mean, one really empathizes with Pakistan, but...
I feel for Pakistan. I think they played a terrific tournament in the first half. Their wheels went off a little bit during the India game with Harris Rauf not coming back to bowl, which is a major hit for them. And post that, they lost both their fast bowlers, completely different side, couple of injuries more with Imamul Haq not playing. All these ended up really not working well for Pakistan. I still feel Pakistan is the better team in this tournament between Sri Lanka and Pakistan. But the good thing about Sri Lanka is they've been fighting. They've not had one easy game. All games right from the start against Afghanistan where they had to find their way. Literally, and Harsha was alluding to this, saying that if Afghanistan had known the rules, we don't know if Sri Lanka would have been there.
You don't know. I mean, they might have been there. You never know. But if Afghanistan had known the rules, they might have inched ahead, and Sri Lanka would not have been here. With Pakistan, all I'll say is take a look at their travel program. They have been on the road virtually every day they were not playing. That cannot be the only reason not to be in the final, but that might contribute to some
I'm a little worried for Pakistan now. These kind of things tend to happen as they lead into a World Cup. If they start well, they get momentum, they're a great team. In case there's a few issues, that's the kind of team, because of the pressure that comes from all quarters when they're playing, things look very different, and the team itself is a pale shadow of what it can be. A lot of the times it's happened.
Sorry, pretty much through the tournament, we kept using words like calm and stable and settled for Pakistan. Now, there are a few stories coming through. Should that be treated as white noise, completely ignore it? How does one look at this drama around Pakistan?
If you can establish the veracity of the stories, then you can build on the story. But if you don't know if the story is true in the first place, I've been traveling around on the cricket circuit for years. I know of some people...
40.
I was hoping you wouldn't say what you said.
40 being the number.
But not traveling around for all those years.
40, Harsha. Let's stick to that.
Much later. But I know people who for the last 30 years have been writing about rifts in the Indian cricket team. So one day I met one reporter and said, rift nahi hai aaj. So I don't know if the stories are true. What I will tell you though is, I know some of the Pakistan players, they will go at each other Next thing you know is they're rolling on the floor, laughing with each other. It does not affect them when they cross the line and they play their own game.
Yeah, some of the journalists, I suppose, are now freelancing, writing daily soaps on general entertainment channels.
Are they?
But our focus today,
Unless you're referring to someone I don't know, but that was
some
not
of
the
those.
intention.
I'm not naming anyone, sir.
That's not the intention.
50 over champions versus T20 over champions at the Asia Cup, India and Sri Lanka. India have won the toss and chosen to bat first. So 5 of the 6 matches that have been
Sri
played
Lanka
in
won the
Colombo. Sri Lanka won the toss.
Sri Lanka won the toss, yeah.
Losing it.
Sri Lanka won the toss and
So-
they elected to bat.
Batting first. Wise call. Runs on the board.
Straightforward call. Nothing to talk about there. It's going to be a challenge for India from here on. Yes, Sri Lanka, whatever total they post, the wicket plays completely differently under lights, and it's been the case for some time in Sri Lanka now. Batting first, winning the toss is a very crucial aspect to you winning matches. In fact, you get a head start, you do that, and it's going to be a game where India is going to be tested, which is a good thing for India before the World Cup.
Yes, just a quick confirmation. Sri Lanka have won the toss and chosen to bat first. What about the India 11? Washington Sundar finds a place for himself. He's just flown in from Bengaluru via Chennai, where he met Dinesh, Karthik, and these are the changes. How do you react to that? Washington Sundar in 3 spinners for India.
Really only one change. Effectively only one change, and even that one forced.
Yeah.
I think if Akshar was there, India would have played Akshar. That would have been their first 11. Akshar is not there. You now have the option of someone who's not the biggest turner of the ball, but as his career has developed, has started to turn the ball away from the left-handers pretty well. And I think Washington Sundar is a serious batter. Sometimes I've seen him bat, and I've asked myself, what is his number one skill? Is he, all-rounders are more one skill than the other. And I often looked at that and said, in a long form game in 50 overs, is he more a batter who bowls or a bowler who bats? I rate him that high as a batter. But don't forget, he was thrust into a test match in 21 and he took 3 wickets in the test match. He bowled proper off spin in the test match. So I have a lot of time for Washington Sundar.
Sad for Akshar, unfortunate at this stage, just a couple of weeks from the World Cup. We don't know what the status of his injury is, but it's a godsend for Sundar.
What an opportunity. I think people from Tamil Nadu also live close to the plane. Whenever they get an opportunity,
His house must be close.
get an opportunity, they just hop into a plane. I'm really happy for Washington. In the same vein, must say, I feel for Akshar. His bowling has not been at the top of what he would like it to be. So, in many ways, he needs match time, Akshar Patel. But this is a bit of a godsend for India, looking at the couple of openers, couple of left-handers that's there around in the Sri Lankan squad. It is a very good opportunity for Washington Sundar, and I genuinely wish he does well, because then the Indian think tank will really think whether it's going to be Akshar Patel or do I need to look at an off-spinner to help them with their combination, considering how Team India need an off-spinner through the middle overs. If you look at his batting, I think if you look at his bowling also, it is very economical compared to Akshar Patel, very, very similar in numbers. Akshar Patel, the more experienced bowler for sure, and the better batter at number 8. But Washington Sundar gives you a different flavour with his off-spin. I think Washington Sundar's only competitor in many ways is R. Ashwin, and I thought Harsha made a great point, and you should say the distinct difference between playing an Ashwin and a Washington, which makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. My view was, if you're looking for a bowler who's going to give you 10 overs, who you bank as a captain, Rohit is thinking, right, I want 10 overs from that bowler, you pick Ashwin. But if he's saying, I want a combination of skills which allow me to say, I've got Jadeja, I've got, say, in this case, Washington Sundar, Jadeja, Washington Sundar, Hardik Pandya. Can I get 21, 22 overs out there? So 2 overs to budget for someone who's got a bad day. Then I think in the current situation where Washington is almost match ready because he's been training at the NCA, then he presents a good alternative. I think on a challenging track where you want a wicket taker, you can't compare Ashwin and Washington Sundar. I mean, if you compare Ashwin to Washington Sundar will not sleep for a week.
I also feel at this point of time, having the off-spin variety is the only missing link for
absolutely.
India. There are only 2 areas where India can actually go wrong. One is if Kuldeep Yadav is taken down by a few teams, then India will be under the pump, because we don't have another wrist spinner on the squad. And in the same vein, if a left-hander gets going, we don't have the option to stop a left-hander with spin right now. So that will be the biggest worry. Washington Sundar answers that question. I still feel Akshar will obviously get fit, so they have a choice to choose from, but it's not a bad headache to have. Only that it could be really unfair on Akshar, having named him the World Cup squad, then to pull him out would be sad. But let's see, that time will take its course. For the moment, here is an opportunity for Washington to showcase his skills, because he will be given the ball. There is Kusal Perera and Charit Aslanka, the two left-handers, and he will be given an opportunity to bowl at them.
My view on this is a little meaningless because ICC rules, but I think for a 9-match tournament, 15 is too few.
Yep.
I think they should have had 16, 17 players. It's a 9-match tournament. I can understand 2 groups. Some of the teams will go out after 5 games or after 4 games, 5 games, you can understand. But every team is playing 9 games.
Yep, minimum.
But it doesn't matter.
This selection, can it be looked at as India's need today, as per their current needs, or does it say anything about what Dravid and Rohit Sharma might be thinking?
As he just said, it would be unfair if they're thinking of replacing Akshar, because they picked him in the first place. Akshar's role was to get runs at 8. Yes, his bowling hasn't been as good as it could be, but he started showing signs of getting his rhythm back, which is a good sign. But he's done what is expected of him at number 8 with the bat. So I believe this is a one-off, because they wanted a third spinner on this kind of surface. They believe this track will turn. They wanted a third spinner. I don't know if at the moment they are looking beyond, because you don't know how he's going to play. So we'll wait and see.
Is there a message, a learning in there for players who are on the fringe? Never know when that call comes.
That's always the case with any cricketer who plays in India. Take it let it be Tilak Verma, let it be Prasidh Krishna, let it be Rinku Singh, anybody, they are all aware that it is just one call round the corner. So they're all preparing themselves and keeping themselves mentally ready. Come the chance, these boys are ready to go. And in India, the biggest advantage is we have a set of cricketers who are ready to get in there and play. So I know that is the one thing Team India will never be bothered about.
You know, one of the most staggering comebacks to the Indian side many years ago was from VVS Lakshman, when he went and hit 1200s and came back. And he said something very interesting. He said, when you're in the side, you might get 2-3 chances. When you're out of the side, you might get 1 chance. So when you're out of the side, you train harder than, because you must be ready. If you get a call up, like DK got when he was in Kuwait, if you get a call up, it means there is a problem, so you're in as a replacement. You might get 1 chance. So when you're not in the side, you actually try harder.
One more player who is not in the side, Mahesh Theekshana, is not going to be playing in this final. It's a grade 2 hamstring tear is what we've been told, and in comes leg spinner and super sub fielder Dushan Hemanta. They had to do it. They had no other choice.
Grade 2 means the World Cup should be in danger, no?
It is. It generally takes 3 to 4 weeks, and you have to say, when you look at Theekshana, obviously he's someone who might take a little more time than extra, because he's a bowler for a start. He doesn't look like a naturally fit guy, so those kind of people take a little more time than what it would take other players. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's racing against time for the World Cup, to see how they go with that World Cup squad. Dushan Hemanta, leg spinner, gun fielder, has bowls a little fuller than normal, very different to a lot of other leg spinners. Not a big turner of the ball, has done really well in LPL in the recent past, did well for Sri Lanka A against England A. That's why he's got the nod. And you can see he is obviously therein for his bowling, but his fielding plays a major role as well. He's a really attractive fielder, can get you a few runs and lower down the order. I'm surprised that they've gone for Dushan Hemanta, only because I felt one of the areas that they could be lacking is the fact that they don't have 2 medium paces. But it is very good that they won the toss now. Now it says that it's okay to have that extra spinner, because it turns and there's a lot more on offer for the spinner as the game progresses.
You know, very interesting, in India's game against Sri Lanka, it seemed to do more when the team was bowling first, when Velalage and all were bowling. It seemed to do a little bit more than when India came back to bowl. I wonder if the outfield made the ball a little weird.
No, I think the pitch 4 is one that they doctored to help spinners a lot more. Pitch 7, 6, and today they're playing in 6. Pitch 7 and pitch 5 get worse as the game progresses. The pitch 4 they had prepared against India specifically to beat them on a turner, and that's why when they played as well, it was turning quite a bit. Like Indians was dominating the spin. So I think each pitch has a certain language that they speak, and this one is one of those which will not turn like the one that we played in the league phase, but I do feel this will get worse to bat on as the game progresses.
Yes, lots of spinners on both sides, but another injury for Sri Lanka, Theekshana out. Does it derail Sri Lanka's bowling plans for the World Cup?
It does big time, because we don't know where Chamira and Lahiru Kumar are. It derails them big time, because he gives those 3 overs right at the top in the power play. Then Shanaka comes in and bowls a couple, because they don't want Patirana to bowl in the power play. So today they have no choice. they have to go and try out Pathirana in the power play, or Shanaka has to come into the power play, because with two right-handers, they're not going to go with Dhananjay De Silva. They might go with Velalage because he's bowled very well against Shubman Gill. So they might go with Velalage, and in the form he's in, he might welcome the challenge. But he's got to step up now.
You like Velalage in the power plays?
For sure. He is someone who has enough drift in the air and the fact that he is able to naturally turn the ball, but the one that goes with the arm because of the conditions of the pitch makes it really hard for the right-hander to line him up, and he is their best bowler right now, and that will give them the best chance with a brand new ball. I do feel that it will be Pramod Madushan and Shanaka to start, and he will come in probably around the 6th or 7th over, but he has it in him to pick up a few wickets in his spell.
Lots of questions coming through on Ask Cricbuzz Live. What do we have today? Let's take a look at it. This one's from Nipun Singhal. While Sri Lanka have done well in the Asia Cup with their spinners, but come the World Cup in India, do they have the composition to win games on flatter tracks? Assuming players are available, who becomes their frontline bowlers in the 11?
If Chamira is fit, it will be Chamira, Pramod Madushan at this point of time. They seem to like what he is doing. The biggest question for them is how are they going to fit in Hasaranga, Tikshana and Velalage? With Tikshana being injured, that question is probably answered to a point, but Tikshana does a very interesting role for them. He bowls like a fast bowler. He bowls at the top and at the tail end of the innings. So he plays a very different role to a spinner. Now, Velalage can be bowled throughout in the middle. Hasaranga in the same vein can be bowled in the middle. What are they going to do at the top and bottom end of an inning? That is going to be the biggest question. At this point of time, for what they're playing in Sri Lanka, in their conditions, they are very, very sorted team with the kind of spinners they have. In India, it's not going to be as straightforward, like you can bowl a lot more spin. I think they'll have to look at another medium pacer. Chamira will be the answer for a start. There are other names like Lahiru Kumara and Madhushanka there, but I still feel Chamira and Madhushanka will, if both are fit, they will start ahead of a Madhushan as well. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go. But for this condition in Asia Cup that we're just going to be seeing today, they have a good team. In World Cup, it will be a different challenge altogether.
More than Kumar, I think they miss Madhushanka because he's a decent death bowler. He's a left-hander. He's got decent pace. He doesn't keep you awake thinking, oh my God, he's quick. He's decent pace. I think they'll miss Madhushanka more than Kumar. I don't know what the fitness situation with both all those players are.
Sri Lanka batting first. Kusal Mendis has been a happy story. He is their top run scorer, second after Shubman Gill. He's got a 50, a couple of 90s. The only thing missing is 100 for Kusal Mendis. He's looked very comfortable against quality spin bowling as well in the middle overs, DK.
Along with Charit Asalanka, he's been their best player. The biggest advantage for Mendis is how good a player he is of spin. Because he's short, he picks up length very well. Slightly short, he's able to go back and pull the ball over mid-wicket consistently, which seems to be his biggest target area against spin. With fast bowlers, even though the record suggests that he's not great, he came in to a place where he was opening the innings and he was doing decently well. It's just that at times he played shots that he wouldn't be really proud of. Gave it away when he was set to the fast bowlers. Whereas with spin, he's a lot more fluent, has shots on both sides of the wicket. With fast bowlers, he's slightly more hamstrung, but the short ball has caused his dismissal quite a few times against fast bowlers where he's ended up pulling them. Because he stands very low in his crease, he is somebody with the fact that he's short, he finds it hard to get on top of the ball at times when there is a quick bowler bowling at him. And that has led to his downfall a few times. And he's pretty flashy outside the off stump. So that's why you see those early wickets of fast bowlers. It'll be interesting to see how he lines up in the World Cup because he has a massive role to play. Like for India, Virat Kohli does well. India are always well served. When Kusal Mendis does well, it really helps Sri Lanka.
He's one of the most frustrating players if you're a Sri Lankan fan. We saw Kushal Mendis in 2017 and you looked at Kushal Mendis and said, here is the next Sri Lankan batter. You know, like when you saw Jayawardene at 18-19, when you first saw him, you knew that nothing was going to come in his way, that he was going to be a big player. You saw Kusal Mendis and you thought, yeah, he's a big player. And then down, up. He's 28 years old now. If he can hit his purple patch now, he's a real quality player.
Key matchup in this game against Mendis.
My key matchup was actually Velalage versus India's top order. But for Kushal Mendis, I think, Kushal Mendis, I'd like to see Bumrah versus Kushal Mendis.
He plays really well.
Or even Hardik versus Kushal Mendis.
How should India look at countering him with spin in the middle overs?
Get him out before spin comes.
That would be the ideal case scenario to try and it happened in the previous game when he got out to Bumrah of the slower one. So he, I think, definitely has an issue comparatively with fast bowlers than spinners. But even with spinners, I think this pitch, his biggest challenge will be playing Kuldeep Yadav. He likes to slog sweep, which could also be his downfall if the ball keeps low, or if he bowls, picks the googly and doesn't pick the googly, it could end up to be his downfall. Though I completely agree with Harsha, I think the bigger challenge will be for him to get past a Bumrah, Hardik and a Siraj.
Well, Mohammad Siraj will be in action as well alongside Jasprit Bumrah. Bumrah got a break. But Siraj, has he looked slightly wayward to you? Is he trying too hard? What do you make of what you've seen of him at the Asia Cup?
I was going to ask him that as well, because he's seen Siraj. Is he a rhythm bowler? Is he that the more he bowls, the better he gets?
Most bowlers around the world are rhythm bowlers, more so for Siraj. He is somebody who his run-up needs to be in a certain way for him to get through that crease really well. And when the ball comes out of his hand well, he is one of the best in the world actually, because he has a great outswing, which is a stock ball, but also he's developed this ball that comes back in, the wobble seam, which has really troubled a lot of batters. And without Bumrah in the last 1 year, he has been India's go-to bowler for India. And that's why he definitely starts for me in the World Cup. This Asia Cup, he looks a little rusty. But again, he's one of those bowlers, as he keeps bowling, he's gotten better. But also is the case where there was a year in RCB, the previous year, even though he bowled quite a bit, he wasn't getting into rhythm. He was somebody who was just constantly bowling at an economy rate of 9.5, which is not what he generally gives. But when he bowls well, he actually literally picks you up a wicket every time in the first spell.
Is it a given that he's India's second pacer, or will it really be a toss-up between him and Shami?
I mean, can you imagine having the option of not playing a bowler of the caliber of Mohammad Shami? I just think that with Siraj, I think he gives you more over 50 overs. I think Shami gives you more early on and a little less later. But ideally, and I keep going back, ideally India wanted to play all three and Kuldeep.
Yeah.
India's ideal combination is Bumrah, Siraj, Shami, Kuldeep. Yeah. Can you trust your top 7 to get those runs? That is the reason we are not playing that combination. That is your best combination.
Today they are going with 3 spinners. It's more to do with conditions than to do with looking ahead to the World Cup, right?
I think Team India's 11 is sorted.
Yeah.
They know exactly the template that they want to play. It'll be Bumrah, Siraj, Kuldeep for sure, the bowlers. Unless Siraj from here on in and in the Australian games, he hasn't really gone well. And Shami in his limited opportunity, whenever he gets in the next couple of weeks, does so well that there's a change warranted by him. Otherwise, the only call is going to be between Shardul and Akshar. This is the only area. Otherwise, even the batting is sorted. The only chance right now, with the way things have panned out, again a small change, it will be Ishan Kishan or Shreyas Iyer, because KL Rahul has again done well. So that will be the only call. Left-hander, right-hander, all those kind of things. But otherwise, India's 11 is very much very sorted, and it's credit to them for having pulled this out after having a bit of confusion maybe at the start of this tournament.
All-rounders have been in demand for a while now in Indian cricket. Hardik Pandya seems to be getting his bearings right. You wanted to see a certain version of Hardik Pandya. How close he is to becoming that?
I think he's there. I've enjoyed watching Hardik Pandya. I think it's an open secret. I have a lot of time for Hardik Pandya, the cricketer. I have a lot of time for Hardik Pandya, the person, but that's not the objective of this program. A lot of time for him as a cricketer, because he challenges himself to get better. I've noticed that when there's a tough situation, he wants to be in it, which is always the sign of a good player. My only concern comes when he starts cranking it up to 140, because he's such an emotional person that the moment he cranks it to 140, he'll get so excited, he'll keep bowling 140, and I keep worrying about his back.
Yeah.
But I'm a worrier, so I shouldn't be the right person. Yeah. But I love him, and I think he's a bona fide 6. Yeah. I think with India at 6 and 7, we have 2 batters who can bat one position up if required.
The way he got Babar, he would want to bowl 140 plus.
With Hardik Pandya, this whole Asia Cup, he hasn't really cranked it up above 140 consistently. Yeah. And he hasn't bowled more than 5 overs in the last 2 games. He's only bowled 5 and 5. Now, the fact is, ball is really coming well out of his hand. And that's a very key aspect for Hardik Pandya, because the way he got Babar Azam out tells me that it's coming out well from his hand. The seam position is good. He's able to bowl the wobble seam, and he's so excited about the fact that he's added in-swing to his bowling as well.
He's like a child. When he talked about in-swing, I just told him, I said, you're a natural outswinger, but the ball is coming in at one of the IPL things. He was like a child with a new toy.
This is like a defensive batsman suddenly learning to hit a 6.
When like Pujara hits a 6, you see the expression.
So it is pretty much like that. When it comes to obviously how he is going to be used, I think Rohit Sharma has been very clever with him. But the most heartening part of Hardik Pandya is in the big matches he stood up. In Pakistan, when the pressure was against India, he found a way to get that lovely partnership, and I quite enjoyed that. With his bowling, I think they're going to use him cleverly, wisely. What I really enjoyed about the game, how he bowled in Sri Lanka, was the 40th over against Sri Lanka. He made an impact by getting Tikshana out. When we just felt that could the game probably go a little deeper, he got that wicket. He's got the pace, he's got the movement, but he's also got the skills and the mindset to get a wicket.
That spell was so good.
He was brilliant.
Does he feature in your death over plans?
100%. The good thing about India right now is Bumrah can bowl 3. If Siraj is having a bad day, it will be 1 Siraj, 1 Hardik. So 45 to 50 is taken care of. I don't think we need to worry too much. And if it is a team where number 7 or number 8 is batting, a certain opponent where they are batting, even Kuldeep becomes an option to bowl the 46th over. This is how India need to plan. Bumrah's 3 is sorted on most days. It is only 2 overs from Siraj or 1 and 1 from Hardik that they need to worry. And as I said, maybe a Kuldeep the odd day.
What about Kuldeep Yadav? We got a break in that last game, but clearly the one consensus is that he is number 1 when it comes to in India's spin force. Here, look at this number. Since Jan 22, 43 wickets. Everyone just hopes that he's in the right mood.
India playing 3 games against Australia before the first of the World Cup games, which is also against Australia. Australia, I can tell you now, will do exactly what DK said. They will try and take down Kuldeep very early. Whether that benefits Kuldeep by getting more wickets, we'll wait and see. But they, in those 3 games and in the first game, they're going to go after Kuldeep, there's no doubt. I just think that Kuldeep, with a greater control of pace and turn, is now in a better position to bowl to somebody who is coming hard at him.
Yeah.
So he will be tested, but which player is not tested? I mean, you're sitting in that chair, you're tested too. So.
No, Manish, it's very interesting. We speak a lot about Indian team and their batting, but actually, if you look at that, graphic that they just put up, the top 5 wicket takers in the world in this last year, 1, 3, and 5 belong to India, and people will be shocked to see Shardul Thakur's name there. But that's in the last 2 years, these guys have done so consistently well, and it could well be a case where Siraj might not play or Shardul might not play, which tells you the strength also. And more than strength, the caliber of the players who present themselves a case to get into the 11, which tells me the health of Indian cricket walking into this World Cup is very, very good. And Kuldeep Yadav is a key bowler along with Jasprit Bumrah. We need wicket takers through the 50 overs. At the top will be Bumrah, at the bottom will be Bumrah. And if Kuldeep Yadav can strike in between, with Jadeja bowling us those tight overs, that will be the dream template around which the bowling will
And he makes
work.
a very valid point. How many people would have looked at those numbers and said, we're actually bowling well? Because we're a batting-obsessed country. You watch on the broadcast, you read in the newspapers, we're always talking about our batting. Sometimes we're only talking about one batter, but I'd like to think the public is looking at all the others as well. And so sometimes we forget that we have actually bowled well. And you see in all the tournaments that India has done well, inevitably the bowlers have done well too. It's not that the batters haven't done well, but we are such a batting-obsessed country that we sometimes overlook the bowlers.
And so batting obsessed that we'll speak about how well they're done. If they're not doing well, how badly they're doing, but we forget to discuss about bowling. And that is a bit sad sometimes.
We're fair on Cricbuzz Live.
I would like to think so, and that's why we pulled up that stat.
Is Kuldeep Yadav India's most important man management project? It's
No,
what you
Bumrah
do
is.
to him.
In my view, Bumrah is the number 1. And yes, definitely the way Kuldeep is playing. You want Kuldeep to play all 9 games, and then you don't know how far India go beyond the 9 games. But I think in terms of management, only because he's come out of injury, I'm thinking Bumrah.
In terms of his emotions, in terms of how to maybe, you've spoken about how some players need an arm around their shoulders. Is he very, very important from that aspect?
He knows him better, but I've seen Rohit actually literally do that after a game in which Rohit was playing against him. And he was going through a bit of a dip, and literally after the presentation, Rohit put an arm round, took him aside, had a long chat with him. We talk about some players needing an arm round their shoulder, some needing a kick up the backside. He's an arm round the shoulder person, isn't he?
He's a very emotional guy, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. He gets sometimes a little bogged down when he doesn't do well, which could happen to young guys, but he's been around for some time now. For me, the 2 big management projects for me is actually Hardik and Bumrah. These are 2 players we cannot do without. If you walk into the World Cup without either one of these, our chances reduce by a considerable percentage.
Are there lots of one-on-ones that happen with these players?
With Kuldeep, a lot, yes, because he requires it. Not right now because he's doing so well, just let him be, and I'm sure they will let him be because he's doing everything right that's required for the team. But when he's not doing well, all he requires, just like what Harsha said, just an arm around the shoulder, which Rohit is very, very good at. But the other two, you need to wrap them in cotton wool till November 19th.
And the Premedasa needs to be wrapped in a lot of plastic because it is raining. And we're going to have a long day. We're going to be waiting a lot. I don't know if we have a joy factor today, do we? I think we do. Of course we do. How can we have Cricbuzz Live without...
It must be about the rain.
I suppose so. How many millimeters of rain or something? Is it, if it is Jim Higgs for Gundappa Vishwanath and Zahir Abbas for Sunil Gavaskar, who is it for Rahul Dravid? Whoa.
I think Joy was sitting there and he thought, okay, it's raining. Let's not occupy their mind too much. So he just said,
Easy one?
Here's one on the pads.
Easy?
I think it is easy. Now, having said that, I mean, I don't know the answer, but I know the method of getting the answer. I think so.
Okay. So while it rains, we're going to get cracking with the help of Mr. Bhogle, who knows the answers to most questions. DK, any final thoughts? A word of thanks for the ground staff who've been working so hard.
Absolutely. You know, they've been really very, it's hard work to keep pulling out and bringing the covers, and they've been working so hard through the last 2 weeks. It's, I just hope they get a massive bonus.
Honestly, I think if there was a race for speed of ground staff running onto the ground, I think Sri Lanka will win gold, silver, bronze, everything. The speed with which they come running out and cover the entire stadium, entire field is incredible.
I don't know who's going to win this match tonight or tomorrow night, but the ground staff clearly the reigning champs. On that silly joke, I'm going to wrap this up because we have some food to eat. You guys go enjoy your meal. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's 3 p.m. Enjoy your late lunch. We'll be back with an update as soon as we can. Bye for now.